I'm Glenn McGuinness, and this is Outburst. On this week's show, is Canada ready for a second wave of COVID-19?
I think the government's going to be a lot more prepared. I think they know what to expect.
Well, that's a big fear. Nobody knows.
It's going to be difficult to tie everybody down again.
I don't think we're ready for a second wave at all.
They better be. They better be.
But first, we are all profoundly aware of the impact COVID-19 has had on our economy. Scores of businesses and the livelihoods of thousands of Canadians were suddenly stopped when the lockdowns began. But we did have a contingency plan with the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, or CERB, and the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy to help struggling businesses. But do these measures go far enough to help Canadians, or should we do more? Our question. Have our governments provided enough financial support during the pandemic?
Well mismanaged. They've made sure everybody's had money. I'm just afraid of coming tax season and a lot of people who don't know how to manage themselves.
They're flying by the seat of their pants. You know, they're trying their best. In some ways, with some demographics, it could be better. Other people are pretty well fine on their own. But people that are impoverished and of different socioeconomic backgrounds, they do need a heck of a lot more financial government support than what they're doing at the federal, local, and provincial levels, in my mind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a very great step. The government provided $2,000 per person on every month. That's a great step. Yeah.
Excellent. Is that, and you're happy with that? You're satisfied with that? That was adequate?
Yeah, absolutely. 2,000 is enough for, I think, for everybody. I'm pretty much happy with that.
You know, when it comes to like a pandemic, it's kind of unprecedented how to handle this. So I think they are doing what they can, but there is more they can do always.
Whether that's enough or not, I think only time will tell. I can't judge, certainly.
Well, it's a balance. You can't have too little and you can't have too much, because I have talked to a number of people now who are very worried that the debt is increasing and it's going to affect their grandchildren. The grandchildren are going to have to pay for the interest and so on the debt down the road. And there are other individuals saying, well, you know, we're going to have to raise this money. The taxes are going to have to go up at some point.
As far as I can tell, I haven't had to take advantage of it myself, but it appears from the people who work with me who have taken advantage that it's there.
Some ways, yes. Like I'm from Colombia, and I see the difference. Like in my country, government doesn't help. They take the money from them and doesn't help the people over there. So they compare from my country and here, like we living in a clown. Canada is an amazing country.
Well, it's hard to say what the financial situation is, because people have different circumstances, and the countries and provinces. There's a thing now with what Trudeau wants to do is give money to the provinces, but with strings attached, and the provinces saying, no, we have better ideas how to spend it. So that's a conflict right there.
Because we live here because we like these coffee shops and these restaurants, and you know, if they're gone, then that kind of takes the charm away of this whole neighborhood. So we hope they survive and hang around. So they could get a little bit more support. I'm really worried about them. Otherwise, some of the other stuff that they've done, it's been pretty good. Like overall, I've been pleasantly surprised with the Ontario government. Like they've done more than I was expecting. So happy about that. They could do a little bit more, but otherwise, yeah, it's been okay. You know, hopefully it's enough.
But yeah, I think they've been doing a good job overall, but it's tough to adjust in such a quick period of time. Tough to kind of anticipate, right? So
people are complaining about the $2,000 CERB going towards people and it being abused and people not wanting to go back to work just because they're getting $2,000 free money. I mean, $2,000 doesn't go a long way. The more people are upset about that than the $4 billion or $8 billion in offshore accounts from rich corporations. It's people are focused on the wrong thing here, and we should be giving a lot more money to the people that need it, and maybe stop with the corporate welfare.
It seems like CERB has been serving its purpose, and I also believe that that they can't be too generous. They can't hand out too much money. They have to let
people try to survive on their own as best as they can, because it's all going to come from the government dollar. It's all going to come from taxpayers.
I mean, ideally, summer is the time where I work a lot and save and all that, but currently that's can't be the case. But I feel like they did provide good support for people that need it, and they made it quite easy and made it pretty accessible to apply for all of those financial supports. So yeah, I feel like they did a pretty good job, and we're definitely one of the more fortunate countries in that case. So
I think so. You know, with the CERB, CSB, EI, it wasn't pretty at first. People weren't getting paid off their EI. CERB was coming in just haphazardly. So it's good that they gave some amount of money so people can pay off debts, put food on the table. It's a start, and I think they did well for the situation that we were in. So yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely compared to some of the responses down south, I think they did a much better job. Yeah, so I can't complain. I didn't face that many difficulties during this time, but I know some people did, and they were able to rely on those programs.
Many of us have seen the rising numbers of COVID-19 cases in the U.S., especially in states like Florida and Texas. Here at home, as we slowly relax restrictions brought on by the pandemic, hearing about new cases popping up elsewhere could be a cause for concern for many. So does this concern you? Are we jumping the gun when it comes to our recovery plan? Our question.
Is it still too soon to ease restrictions across the country?
I don't believe so. I think at this point we're still dealing with a balanced recovery. The northern parts of Ontario that have been opened up tend to be more cautious about the COVID than we are in Toronto. I mean, I'm standing here in the middle of the street without a mask or anything on. So, and there's far more people here, so a more balanced rollout appears to be working.
Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. I understand the fatigue. I understand the frustration. People not having their jobs, not knowing if they're going to go back to their jobs. I walk by all these shops. I wonder, are they going to reopen? Is there even a chance they will reopen? Which really worries me a lot.
It is very a risky situation, I think. I think that numbers are going down, but I think that people don't pay attention to the safe distancing. I think that there is a risk that we may bring the numbers up again, and that's of course something that we don't want to. And I think that we need to be cautious to avoid, going back to the stage that we were before.
So what do I know, really? But I mean, my body and my heart wants to get back to some new life, but...
Yeah, I think that's right. Like, you look at, I again, don't know nearly enough about it to, take an informed position, but, I think about Vancouver, and they had significantly less cases from what I know, and they took significantly more severe precautions earlier on and into what a lot of people would consider everything was fine, and then now they have the ability to start opening up, and I think maybe we just need to sit this out until we feel more confident.
Well, it's a slippery slope, because I think especially for Toronto, we're such a dense population, and we have a lot more people living here than other cities here in Ontario. So it's one of those things that, I think the government has to rely on the advice on the medical experts, that they rely on the science and on what the models predict. And if it means we have to, hold back for another week, then that's what we have to do. I think it's better than getting another outburst and then you have to shut everything down. And then we're back at square one.
It's a balance. I don't know. I'm sure the Ontario government runs the numbers and knows how much the hospitals can handle, and if they're under capacity or over capacity, and they've got to balance that. But if we do have some capacity, we should try to open up a bit. And also these businesses, just even if there is a subsidy or whatever from the government, it's not enough, right? We need to open up as much as we can without becoming like New York City or something like that. Where
I think because this is such an unprecedented event, there really is no clear right or wrong answer. They're just trying to do the best they can given the light of the situation, and it changes daily, right?
I don't know. I don't want to say I'm
blindly trust what's going on, but I do feel like they're generally everyone has our best interests at heart. So, I mean, I'm okay with the way things are going so far.
You can see the numbers going down provincially and federally or nationally. So, I mean, if they were still on the rise, then that would be questionable, I guess, to try to start opening things up. But because they've started to go down, I think that was a good call.
I don't think there should have been a restriction put in place in the first place. So, no, I mean, yes, things are going to happen, but I think it's going to be a lot less happening than what has already been done.
I think so. I definitely think so. I think people are taking this lightly now since like we're in phase 4 and whatever. So I think it's still too soon. I think there are a lot of people who do not understand the gravity of the situation, and I think it's still out there in the community. And I think it's too soon. Yeah, we should probably just like wait for like few more weeks before we ease out these restrictions.
Well, I guess it depends how populated you are. It seems like in Saskatoon or Saskatchewan, we're not that densely populated, so we haven't had as many incidents, so I think we're not as concerned.
I don't think the playground should be opened, especially if they're not cleaning them and stuff like that. It's like they're taking chances with our children and grandchildren. So it's a little bit quick with some things.
I do think it is a bit too soon to start reopening things. I think they should take a bit longer for things to settle down, especially because there are no treatments for the virus or anything. So
If they're done slowly and reopened slowly, it's maybe not too soon, but we still have to be very careful, like in the restrictions and stuff like that. I mean, it's not over yet, so we still have to be very careful. And some parts of the country are worse than others, like I know Ontario and Quebec and stuff like that. And but we still have to be very careful.
I think what I've noticed is that there seems to be some inconsistencies in the lifting of restrictions. So, by limiting the amount of people in restaurants, that's a positive, but some places like playgrounds and beaches opening up where there might be risk for a lot of close contact, it doesn't seem to be consistent across the board with what the government has been doing. So I think that supporting local businesses and doing pickup and takeout, that's a really positive change that I would be in favor of, but some of the possible chances of clustering from local spaces like parks, I think that's maybe a bit more risky.
Yes, I think it's too soon. I think that we should still remain in phase 1, phase 2 area and just kind of slowly reopen eventually, but I think it's still too soon.
Well, here in the province, it seems that it's not being affected that much. So I think it could be opened by the phases, the smart quarantine, as they say. But in the whole country, I mean, from a general view in the whole country, I think it's soon.
Who was the last Liberal Prime Minister before Justin Trudeau? Is it Jean Chrétien, Paul Martin, or John Turner?
Chrétien? Paul Martin. I would say Turner.
Jean Chrétien.
I'm going to say Paul Martin.
Absolutely correct. Very good.
The last Liberal Prime Minister before Justin Trudeau was the Right Honourable Paul Martin. Martin became the MP for the Quebec riding of La Salle-Imard in November of 1988 and served as MP for 20 years. After unsuccessfully running for the leadership of the Liberal Party of Canada in 1990, Martin served as Finance Minister for almost a decade. He became Prime Minister in December 2003 after winning the leadership of the Liberal Party that fall, taking over from longtime colleague and rival Jean Chrétien. Martin would then lead the Liberal Party to a minority election win in June 2004. His government oversaw the creation of the Civil Marriage Act in 2005, making Canada the 4th country in the world to legalize same-sex marriage. Martin's minority government lasted only until the 2006 federal election, where they were defeated with a minority win by Stephen Harper and the Conservative Party.
Canada seems to have largely made it through what we consider the first wave of COVID-19. But all along, the Prime Minister and senior health officials have warned us that a second wave is inevitable. For many of us, the COVID-19 pandemic has been a learning experience of sorts. But if there is a round 2 of this, will we be prepared? Our question.
Is Canada ready for a second wave of COVID-19?
I hope so. Really hope so, especially for their sake, because I think it's very hard on the kids. It's hard on us, but I think it's doubly hard on them. So I really hope we're ready for it. Hey guys.
Yeah. I think we're doing pretty good. In comparison with Europe, I think we're doing pretty good. I'm by myself from Ukraine, and I know that until now we have at least 400 cases per day. Here we have 0, so it's a positive result. Thank you very much for the government of Canada for that.
No, definitely not. No. But like I said, I think if it happens, people would have, it's like, I don't want to compare it to the world wars, but because obviously I wasn't around, but, once the First World War happened, countries were prepared, they kind of knew what to do. And I think the same thing, if it happens this fall, as they say, it's not going to be good, but I think people, okay, well, here's what we got to do. We got to hunker down for the next few months again.
No, I don't think so. You look at Ontario and Quebec, I don't think they're taking it seriously enough. Newfoundland has, but we're an island, of course. And I know Ontario and Quebec are much more dense, but I don't think we're ready for a second wave at all.
I think some provinces are ready for it. I believe Newfoundland is ready for it. Not from the medical side, but I believe that our administrative side is doing a good job right now. I don't believe some provinces are ready for it. I think their restrictions are too loose right now. So
I don't think across the board you'd be able to say that Canada is necessarily prepared, but I think by working together interprovincially with leaders and having those interdisciplinary teams that can learn from each other and what works well for them, I think that would help prepare us for a second wave.
I think so far people, I think they are ready, and I think our system is ready, just because we've already seen in the first wave what it entails, and so I think we would be ready if that comes.
Again, just as a physician, I think we can, just because we've built all this capacity now to handle it. So obviously we want to mitigate it, but if it comes, we're ready. So
they better be. Because if it, from what I understand, it could be worse than the first wave, and they better be ready. And that all hands on deck, in my mind, at the local, provincial, and federal levels. It's not in Canada; it's the world.
If they think they're going to deal with the second wave the way they've dealt with the first one, they're going to be in for a big wake-up call and an eye-opening as to how they dealt with the first one and how they should have dealt with the first one. Because you can't keep enacting this scenario over and over and over. And it's going to keep coming until we learn how to deal with it properly.
I do worry that if there's a second wave, that it's going to be difficult to tie everybody down again, right? You can do something once, and then when you sort of know what you've experienced, and then the second time, I'm not sure people will be as compliant as they might have been the first time.
Well, that's a big fear. Nobody knows. And scare tactics don't work. Therefore, you have to be open-minded and say, are we ready? Have we recovered? What have we done now? What should we be doing for the future? That's basically it.
Yeah, I said yes. Yeah, they are very fast, and everybody is taking care of themselves. So if they go with the second one, I think everybody's gonna high again, to take the more way to be careful with everything. So. Yeah, I think, they are prepared,
Don't know about being ready, but we're certainly more capable of dealing with it. Obviously, when it first started up, everything that the health services had to deal with, they had to run out of things very quickly. That seems to have caught up, and now we're just making sure that we don't overload them.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think they've learned their lesson.
Oh, stop.
After the no, I do. I think I don't think hopefully no one wants a second wave. I think we all know it's coming. I think it's that everyone's going to be a little more prepared, and I think the government's going to be a lot more prepared. I think they know what to expect and how to initiate any plans they have much quicker than they did the first time around. Absolutely.
I'm also hoping that with the measures, if we keep the social distancing and we keep the masks and we keep the hand sanitizer available basically everywhere, I'm hoping that will kind of not prevent a second wave, but keep it at a minimum.
It's always good to end on a happy note. Oftentimes in life we face challenges, but with those challenges come the silver linings, something good that comes from a bad situation. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. We talk to Canadians about the encouraging aspects they were able to draw from this pandemic. Our question:
what positives can we take from the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think there's some changes, like in day-to-day. Like I know just from my work, using virtual phone calls or FaceTime, that type of thing for doing appointments and whatnot. I think it's made a difference, and I think that's here to stay.
Well, perhaps people have become more aware of hygiene and large crowds and what can happen as a result.
Families have been spending time together and enjoying each other, and just had time to actually enjoy each other.
Well, this is a learning experience, something we've never had to deal with before. I think it's something that it's a definite learning experience for people in the healthcare field, people in government, and people, general citizens like ourselves. That this is something that we're going to have to learn from and be more due diligent when something like this again arises in the future.
I think I've noticed especially an increase in community and communication between people. The FaceTimes and the video chats with people that you maybe haven't connected with before. You're reaching out to people that you haven't talked to in a long time, which is really beneficial. And we've seen a huge upspike in the support of local businesses, like I said earlier, which is a huge positive, and just the support that communities have had for one another with the protests in Saskatoon, thousands of people showing up. You've really seen support within communities that maybe haven't been there as much for each other in the past, so I would say those are all positives.
I think we've come together more in terms of social media. We've definitely inspired each other a little bit more to connect with each other, so that's a positive for sure.
Definitely we can learn a lot from this, and then I think people already realize it, and definitely I hope more positive come out of it.
People are hand washing more, which is good. For sure.
Appreciating life more, period. I just generally that some things that maybe we took for granted, that we can value them more, like kind of like freedom and stuff like that.
Well, for example, I think that it's been proved that many jobs can be made from home. That's, many companies didn't do this before because they were afraid on how the outcome would be. And I think this been proved that many jobs can be made by home. It would be like a new way of working, I think. I think that's a positive, yeah.
I certainly hope so. There's tremendous improvement, opportunities for improvements, I think, and maybe this will highlight some of them in our healthcare system and our ability to socialize, and I hope there's lots of improvements can come from this.
Definitely, I think people have more time with their family. That's number one. Besides of the financial stuff, stay at home. I think everyone is looking forward when they have like full-time job. They want to stay at home.
For the most part, it seems that people are willing to take the time to actually be prepared, follow the rules. We're going to end up, it's going to take years before we really understand the social changes that this enforced, but I'm an introvert, so this works out fine for me.
We've eaten a lot more dinners together.
Minding more dinners together
Yeah.
compared to if you were going into the office and coming home a little bit later, and us kind of me eating before, you eating later. So
Yeah.
I guess that's a positive.
On our side, yeah. I mean, I think like there've been pictures floating around with regard to like emissions and that kind of thing. You can physically see in heat waves of maps of cities where it's gone down, right? Because people aren't driving as much. They're not needing to go out.
You know, I think some families have seen some positive the way they've changed their life. I know even for us, we've probably slowed down way more than we would have, and I think now that it'll start up, we might not be with such a fast pace. I think there is some positives. I have to strain to see them because of my circumstances, but certainly our children who still live in British Columbia and homeschooling their kids, there has been some really good positives out of that. And I FaceTime with them like 3 times a day, so that part's been really good as well.
Well, you know, certainly I think it causes a lot of people to reflect. You know, I mean, I think we're so busy at getting from A to B and working so many hours and trying to get so many things done in one day. I think this pandemic has really helped, at least for me, it's helped to reflect on slowing down, enjoying life a little bit more, enjoying the simple things of life, even if it means just sitting at home having a cup of coffee.
Yes, a lot of people are enjoying working from home. That's the big thing. And the idea of going to the office seems to be disappearing due to the fact that people are going to work from home and they're not, commuting. And businesses find that people are more productive working from home.
Well, I think everyone's hygiene has gotten better, and I think that will carry over.
I talk to people that I'm friends with around the world a little bit more often now over FaceTime, so that's kind of nice. I mean, I guess just like paying more attention to other relationships in your lives that you don't necessarily see all the time. That's one positive thing for me, at least.
I would hope people have been learned to be a little more courteous and a little more aware of how they are around other people, and maybe washing their hands a little more often than not, or maybe
It's true.
Yeah,
I was just thinking that we got to be home for a month together, and that was nice.
Yeah.
I'm very selfish in my thoughts. That was nice. It was very nice.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on the Cable Public Affairs Channel. I'm Glenn McGuinness. If you have any comments or questions about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. It's your turn to speak up, and we're listening.